So I recently just finished a trip I've been wanting to do for quite a long time. I did the entire Blue Ridge Parkway. It was quite the scenic drive, and it was really, really awesome. If you don't know what the Blue Ridge Parkway is, it's about a 500-mile stretch of pretty much uninterrupted road that goes from North Carolina up through almost to Washington, D.C. and Virginia. I started at the south and went all the way north. I figured that way you're kind of driving away from the sun the whole time instead of driving south into the sun. And I time-lapsed the whole thing, and it turned out really, really cool. I really like how it it looks. And of course, it was super, super fun. I took my car, obviously, and I originally had a rental car lined up, but then I'm like, I have a BMW. Why would I not take this car on this trip? This is what it's kind of made for. So you just throw it in sports mode and just have fun with it. There's a lot of twisty, turny roads up the mountains, and it was just a lot of fun. I greatly enjoyed it, and obviously gonna recommend it to anybody who wants to go for it because it's super awesome, fun time. I also did the roughly 100-mile extension in Shenandoah, which is a bit separate from Blue Ridge Parkway in that there's like an entry fee, and I don't know why it's just not part of the Blue Ridge Parkway normally. It just seems like it should be. Saw a number of critters along the way. When I was in Shenandoah, these two deer just popped up from the downside of the cliff when I was sitting there looking over the map when I pulled over for the first scenic overlook, just trying to scout out where I want to stop along the way, and these two deer just come out of nowhere and just start like hanging out, and then they take off along the other side of the road. I'm like, don't get hit. But none of them did. It was just kind of funny how they came out of nowhere. I kind of would say there's like three separate segments. The southern segment from Cherokee, North Carolina, up through about Roanoke, or really up through about Blowing Rock, is all like super mountainy and goes through like Great Smoky Mountains National Park and that sort of area. Once you get to Blowing Rock, all the way through about Roanoke, it's all like farmland, like rolling hill farmland, not so mountainous, but you're going through farms as opposed to the mountainous Smoky Mountain region. And then north of Roanoke, it's also completely separate. You're like driving on the top ridge the whole time, and I think that was the most scenic part, was driving along like the mountain ridge, and there's like a flat valley below, and it was just, you don't see that around where I live, so it was kind of neat. Took me 2.5 days to do it all, and I kind of drove straight through. I didn't really stop too long in any given spot. I did stop in Roanoke for a time. That ate up some hours, and I had no idea how long it was going to take me. So I had like 5 days lined up in order to do this, and I did it in 2.5. And then when I got to the northern part, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna hightail it over to Pittsburgh for a couple days. So I went over there. Really, it was just one night and 2 days. But still, did it in a little bit faster time than I had thought, because I didn't know where I was gonna stop. I didn't really have a plan. I was just gonna drive and stop where I scouted out some scenic areas and such. But it's a 600-mile stretch of road. I didn't have any hotels lined up. I'm just going to drive until the night and then find something. It's kind of what I did. It all worked out. It all worked out really, really well. In fact, that first night, my car got all frosted over, and I think that's the first time my car did that since I bought it. Because I live in the South, so it never really freezes much down here, and certainly don't get frosted because I kind of park in a garage and it protects it all from that. But I did take this really awesome picture of the logo, the BMW badge that got all frosted over in the morning. Thought that was really, really cool. Sunsets were super awesome too. The second night I was up in the mountains during the sunset, and it was just quite a sight. I don't think I could have picked a better day to see the sunset because it was like a really clear day. The sun was super bright, and it looked awesome. So that was cool. And I did this in the fall too, so the colors were like all over the place. I think I was about a week or two late from like peak color foliage, but it was still really, really colorful in a lot of segments. And that's the time to do it, I think. The air is crisp and cool. I think I had my windows down the whole time, even though it was like 40 or 50 up in the mountains. But the air was so fresh. You know, it's just, you know, really nice. One regret that I had was when I was going up to, where was I going? North side of Asheville, tallest peak in the mountains, Mount Mitchell. Heading up to Mount Mitchell, I scouted it out, everything was good, but by the time I got up there, they say closed for snow. Or ice, I guess. So I had to turn around and go like 20-something, 30 miles back down the mountain, and then detour around it to catch up to the Blue Ridge Parkway on the other side. That was one of the areas I was really looking forward to, so that was a little unfortunate that it was closed. I guess I'll have to go back. But for the most part, there was only one other detour section around Roanoke, I want to say, that like cut me off the last 10 miles coming into the city. They were doing like road construction or something, so you couldn't do that segment. But I did find the famous bridge. You may have seen this shot before. It's like the most famous part along the route, I guess. Which is kind of cool. There's like a little path that goes underneath it and then up around the mountain, so I kind of hiked along that. I didn't really do too many like excursion hikes. I got out of the car and walked around a little bit here and there, but I didn't do anything like intense. I feel like I kind of scouted out the areas now, and if I want to go back and do like a full day hike or something, I know the spots to hit. Oh, you'll see too in some of these pictures I don't have a license plate. That's because I didn't just buy the car. I've had the car for about a year and a half almost. But I just moved, so I had to get a new license plate, and it was still pending when I did this trip. But I stopped a couple visitor centers, and they're like, "How do you like your new car?" And I'm like, "I've had this for a year and a half, but I love it." So I was fooling them all. But yeah, definitely recommend the journey. Definitely recommend it in a BMW, because it was so fun to drive along that road, and I was pretty much in sports mode the whole time. Not doing anything like crazy speed wise, because I think for the most part it's only a 45 mile per hour speed limit, and in the Shenandoah section it's only 35 for that 100 miles. But because there's so many like tight turns and corners and zipping sideways in this way, it's so fun to even go 45, you know, and really hit it. Gas wise, you know, this is I think considered a national park, the entire 500 mile segment. So there's almost no buildings or road or, you know, stopping points for gas along the actual road. So you do have to do some like work to determine where you are going to get gas, which I did. You know, I kind of scouted, okay, I'm gonna, you know, where do I want to fill up along the way? So plan accordingly. But because there's literally nothing along that route, you really don't have any stops. Like there's no stoplights, there's no stop signs. I don't think hardly at all throughout. There maybe have been one or two here and there in the farmland because they couldn't put in an overpass or something. But you're literally in the woods for like 500 miles going down this road, and it's so different from just driving around like the city. Or even in like a rural town, like you got stop signs all here and there. Trucks, you know, they're not allowed, no commercial vehicles on the road. So occasionally I'd get behind a really slow moving RV, but for the most part, I mean, even in the peak fall season, like there was almost nobody ever in front of me, which was really nice. Yeah, so there you go. Really fun time. Highly recommend it if you can do it. It's a lot faster doing this than like trying to hike the whole Appalachian Trail, which it pretty much follows all the way during this segment. And if you got a BMW, take it, because you'll have fun for sure.